Hello and welcome to Casino Blog. I'm your host, Vegas Vic, and today I wanted to do something a little bit different. In my past episodes, I spoke a lot about great slot machines and showed some new videos, and indeed I will be doing that again very shortly. In fact, I have just recently finished writing a new book called Great Casino Slots Volume 1, and I have some great and really exciting slot machines to show you and to tell you about in my forthcoming casino blogs. Now, this new book will be released very shortly, and it's full of really new and exciting and the latest slot machines which I played at the convention in Las Vegas, the Global Gaming Expo, and they are just now being released to your favorite casinos. So more about that later. But for today, I wanted to talk to you about some really amazing gambling facts. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, and my handle there is @GamingAuthor, you know that from time to time I tweet about these great and amazing gambling facts. And some of those have stories behind them that you can't really say in 140 characters or less. And so I thought that I would spend a couple of these episodes of my casino blog telling you a little bit more about some of these amazing gambling facts. Now, I have a little cheat sheet right in front of me here so that I don't forget what I'm talking about. As you know, if you've seen my past casino blogs, there are times when I fall over my own words, and so hopefully I will not do it this time. I wouldn't be surprised if I did, though. And anyhow, so one of the things that I wanted to talk to you first of all is there's a very interesting family feud going on, a kind of interesting feud between the Italians and the French, and it has to do with the game called Baccarat. Now, if you don't know what the game is, Baccarat is basically a game where there are three betting options. You can either bet on the player or on the banker, and sometimes there's a tie. That's about all there is to this game, and for some really strange reason, it is a game that's preferred by very high rollers, people that bet in the hundreds of thousands of dollars per hand. In fact, this game can literally affect whether or not Las Vegas casinos make a profit or don't, and sometimes it even affects the stock values on the stock exchange depending on whether the players win or lose. And the wins and losses are in the tens of millions of dollars. So it's really strange people play this game because it's, to my mind, pretty silly. But I did write more about it in my book, Powerful Profits from Casino Table Games. There's a section on Baccarat there, so if you're interested in that, you can look it up in that book. But the reason I'm mentioning it here is because the word Baccarat is a French word, and it means zero. And in Italian, the word Baccarat also means zero. And so there's been this family feud between the Italians and the French going on for quite some time about who actually invented the game, or perhaps who actually named the game. Now, since the name of the game is Baccarat, meaning zero, you can probably see how much you can win when you're playing it. Actually, the game can be quite fun because now there's a game called Mini Baccarat which you can play in the main casino pit. And it's a lot easier to play because the dealer does everything and all you really do is make one of the three bets. Now, Baccarat, of course, is a game that is featured in most of the James Bond films. Up until recently, some of the newest ones actually showed a game of poker, which was not very well rendered as far as reality is concerned. But then again, James Bond is pure fantasy and fun. I love all those films, of course. And so this is one of those quirky things where this kind of a family feud in the world of gambling has been going on for about, I think, 400 years about a game that's called Zero. So I just thought that I would mention it as an interesting beginning to this conversation here about amazing casino facts. Another story that I wanted to tell you about is a very famous story from the world of craps. Now, if you don't know what the game is, craps is a dice game, and you throw the dice and you bet on 7 or 11 on the come-out roll, and then you bet on the numbers on the field. If you don't know the game craps, I've written a book on it called Powerful Profits from Craps. You can look it up. And it was a game very popular with the soldiers from World War II. and it became a staple of casinos for a great many years thereafter. It died off a little bit, but it's still in the casinos, and it's a pretty good and exciting game to play. So if you've never tried it, you can go ahead and look it up either in my book or one of the many other great books on casino craps. My friend and colleague Frank Scobletti has some very good books on craps as well. And there's also a slot machine now where you can play craps, and it basically has two giant dice, and you press a button and the dice jump up and down, and it's actually a real roll with giant dice. The only difference is that you don't have all the screaming people passing money around everywhere, and so it's less intimidating. But it basically plays the same as regular craps. Anyway, the story I wanted to tell you is back in the 1950s, when there was a casino here in Las Vegas called the Desert Inn, which was several years ago blown up and exploded, and it was replaced by the Wynn Casino Resort that's there now, and also the neighboring casino called the Encore. That's the site where the old Desert Inn Casino used to be. I remember it well. I used to love to go there. Anyway, back in the 1950s, a sailor went to that casino, and he made 27 consecutive wins at craps. Now, this is absolutely an amazing feat. In fact, the odds of that are 1 in 12,467,890. 27 consecutive wins. Now, at the time, if this sailor had been betting the house limit on each of those consecutive rolls, he would have won a total of $268 million. And that's in 1950s money. That's an enormous amount of money. But of course, he wasn't betting like that. So, in fact, he won $750 and set this enormous record, which has lasted for all time, I think. I don't recall anybody besting it since. If you happen to know if somebody bested that record, by all means, email me or post on this video and let me know. And these dice actually remained enshrined at the Desert Inn under glass for all of these years until Steve Wynn bought the casino and blew it up to build a new one. So what happened to those dice? Actually, I don't know. I hope they're still around somewhere. I actually haven't seen them or heard them since the Desert Inn went up in flames. But that's another interesting story from the grand old days of Las Vegas. And there's a few other stories that I would like to tell you. That, for example, did you know roulette is the oldest casino game in the world? Actually, in the modern world, because if you want to talk about the actual oldest casino games, it's actually craps, actually the dice game that preceded craps, because the game was already played back in ancient Egypt some 4,000 years ago. They actually didn't use it as a gambling game. They used it as kind of like a mystical forecasting game. But some of those dice made out of bones were actually dug up from the Egyptian tombs. So it's a very, very old game. Now, the modern game of bingo started in Italy in 1530. Now, that's a very, very interesting game. Now, most people think that bingo is for old people. You sit there and you daub the numbers, but it can be pretty exciting. And some of those wins that you can get at bingo are in the tens of thousands and even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, in Las Vegas, at the Arizona Charlie's Decatur, they have a 24-hour bingo game. And it's very good if you go there, during the wee hours, like from 1 a.m., and you go 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m., those are the sessions. There's an hour in between. And there's not many people over there, and the prizes are still very, very good. So that's the place to go if you want to play bingo in Las Vegas in the nighttime hours. Of course, in Las Vegas, we never sleep, so, everybody can go anywhere. I often go shopping at 3 o'clock in the morning. In fact, after I get finished recording this video, I'll be going, and it's the middle of the night over here. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is the game Keno. Now, if you know anything about me and my preferences, the Keno is my favorite casino game. And I like it mostly in the video version. I've written a book called Powerful Profits from Keno, which has now been re-released with updates as an ebook. So you can look that up too. It's my most popular title. And it's a fun game if you really learn how to do it. It's not boring at all. Anyway, this game was invented in China about 3,000 years ago, and I write about that in my book about Keno. And but did you know that the Great Wall of China was financed to a large degree by proceeds from the game of Keno? So you see, public works financed by gambling are not a new invention. So I kind of wonder, why some of these zealots in the U.S. Congress keep wanting to, ban online gaming, and instead of collecting the revenue for the state when everybody's, in debt. The U.S. is in debt to $17 trillion, and you got people in Congress that are throwing away, 20, 30, 40 billion dollars in taxable profits per year for what? So anyway, that's my soapbox, and I'll get off of it. And so anyway, another few other interesting facts. I know this is getting a little bit lengthy for my casino blog, but let me just run through it a little bit. Game. Oh, by the way, bingo comes from an older game which is called Beano, and the game bingo was actually created accidentally by a player of Beano, and that inventor is remaining anonymous in the pages of history. A few other things that I wanted to tell you about. For example, the potential for a royal flush in poker is 1 in 649,740. And if you play video poker, you know that you only get paid 40,000 to 1. or is it 4,000 to 1? Some of those games that have been put out recently have paybacks shaved so terribly, Of course, all of that information is in my book, Powerful Profits from Video Poker, which is also now re-released as an ebook. So I know I sound like a commercial, but I want to publicize my books a little bit. And so let me see. Another thing I want to tell you is that 70% of players who gamble a lot of money on baccarat are actually from Asia, and there's a lot of heavy players in Macau, in China. And a lot of these come to the United States as well, so that's another interesting fact. And also, for card games, according to statistics, more than 70 million cards are sold around the world each year. So there's a lot of people playing. And some other gambling facts is that people who make a lot of money, like people whose incomes are $250,000 or more, they gamble the least, but when they do gamble, they gamble the most. Some of them play in the hundreds of thousands of dollars per hand and millions of dollars per casino visits. They are called whales, and there's about 400 of those really huge gamblers throughout the world. And so these are some of the very interesting gambling facts that I thought that I would share with you here in today's episode of the Casino Blog. I hope it wasn't too long and it was at least somewhat interesting to you. And I will have another episode of this a little bit later. So for now, I hope you will visit me on my website at morecasinodeals.com. And until next time, I'll see you in the casino. So long.